This is a good time to be in New Orleans. New Orleans has everything in it, you know. That's what we're known for. It's like New York, but a smaller version. Like, we want to be recognized for our visual arts too here in New Orleans now, you know? And that's a good thing. I'm back home, did this body of work for the Q Arts Foundation show. But it's never been shown in New Orleans, and Dan Cameron said, well, we found a place for you. And that's how I was able to be a part of the Prospect.2. Willie Birch is like my mentor. Some of my work has a very heavy outline to it, you know? My work has always been political. Since my days in Hunter, I was dealing with issues with the disabled community, and I was dealing with the ADA policies. So my work has always been political, if you want to say that it's political. And now it's, I'm critiquing Southern, culture. When I moved back in 2007, my father starts talking to me about all these stories of my childhood. I'm originally from Plaquemines Parish, which is way south of New Orleans. And there's a lot of, history down there dealing with racial issues. And I wanted to bring those stories to light in a way that it's a autobiographical standpoint, but as well as it could be a universal story, The stories to me would never go away. When they say painting is dead and is moving on, to me the painting would never go away because the stories would never go away. That's Watermelon Head from the Down by the Riverside painting. It's really the first painting that I introduced this character. And this is strictly from childhood. Dr. Lewis Gates Jr., this very in-depth book, it was called The Signifying Monkey. It talks about black literature. Traditionally, we've always been signifying. And that means like name-calling, nicknames. To me, by putting Jughead, P-head, Watermelon Head, this also talks about how, from our childhood, we all have that. I think every culture has that. Some people may look at it as negative, but I see it as a positive thing. And it's just like an endearment, They're just doing their thing, 4 guys down by the river. But going back to that storytelling where my father would tell me, this is just poetic viewpoint on that, from that whole history of signifying, But the Kingdom Nostalgia is really the first of this series. I said, you know what? I want to do a painting about the Mardi Gras culture here, but use something that everyone can really identify with, and that's the blooms. These are these artifacts and these items that they throw off the floats down here during the parades, and I wanted to honor each crew, so that the blooms with the polka dots as the juxtaposition for the backdrop. I thought was an ideal thing. Kings of Nostalgia, of course, we have Zulu, Rex, Bacchus, and the Mardi Gras Indians. And this is a homage to those kings. And from my childhood, nostalgia, the melancholy, the majesty of these floats, these kings. This is what really Mardi Gras is about. A lot of my friends that come from New York or elsewhere, and they think Mardi Gras is just drinking and boozing and flashing each other. No, there's so much more to Mardi Gras, I got my mojo back came really out of my claiming that I'm back home now. I was starting to lose myself in New York. I was there for 15 years, so I felt like, all right, now that I'm back home, this is my return painting. The doors opening and closing is like the passage in my life, and you see it's really loaded with a lot of spiritual symbolism, candles, the pelican, the umbrella, all these things that signify New Orleans because it's a very spiritual city, no doubt. The requiem for N-I-G-G-A. I'm gonna just say the word. A requiem for a nigga and a eulogy for a nigga. Those paintings came out of, again, that very southern, Louisiana region. I use the word nigga a lot because I'm trying to make a point about those stereotypes. It's not particularly about one person who passed, but an ideal. Like the nigger is not no longer that mentality that I want young African American, males especially, to be raised in. And the departed is not just one person again, it's an ideal. It is that mentality of what a nigger is. The landscape is littered with beer cans, liquor bottles, guns, artifacts from, gang members. It's a particular type that I'm trying to say, this is the end to that way of life. And the person at the podium in each painting could be myself. But it could be anyone. It could be a preacher just speaking about black on black violence and crime in the urban landscape. Going back to the why I use the N-word in my paintings. I know it has a long history of negative connotations. N-I-G-G-E-R, nigger. I'm in my 40s, so I know that word has negative connotations. But the way the hip-hop culture has embraced it, I understand what they're getting at, because they're transforming in the word. But I say, this is a different generation, which means, from how we use Ebonics language and as opposed to the English proper language, I want to put a twist to it, and I want to use it to where it has strength and power, just the way these hip-hop artists are using it, So I think I'm going to continue to use it. Upon this land was going to be a painting about the Civil War. It was going to be nothing about the oil spill, but just like how 9/11 happened, it came out of nowhere. And the oil spill, to me, in Louisiana is important. And the fact that it affected Plaquemines Parish, where I was born and raised, I wanted to speak about it. I think an artist has a duty to speak about the events and times and the era that they live in. And sometimes I see myself as a reporter when I do engage into current events. The idea of just putting the Louisiana state flag on the surface here and have this oil dripping, I really wanted to speak about. It's an environmental tragedy, of course. That's why you see throughout the landscape the animals and the wildlife that's entrenched with this oil on it. And the figures are just really out of a fisherman's life. I wanted to incorporate the working class as well as what you see with the corporate has done to the environment. But I see myself doing more of these kind of types of paintings.